In this video, we are going to create this animated landing page using React JS and Three.js. So as you can see, if I refresh, the drone pops out towards us and that animates its position, and also the cards, they appear one after another. Let me refresh again. So as you can see, the cards come from different direction and at different time. And finally, we are also going to add multi-language support. So if I click on Russian, the language will be changed to Russian. If we click on English, the language will be changed to English. So following this tutorial, you will be able to add as many languages as you want. And also we are going to be using this 3D model of drone. So we'll see how we can animate 3D model. So this will be a really interesting project. So I hope you'll enjoy this a lot. So make sure to like and subscribe now, and let's get started. So let's open up the VS Code in our project folder. So I'm going to be working on this current folder. So here let's say npx create react app. So create -react -app, and let's name our project react-landing for React landing page. Hit enter and it will start generating a new React project. So let's wait for the installation to finish. Okay, so our installation is now complete. So we can cd into our project. So we can say cd react landing like so, and to start our development server we simply have to say npm start. Hit enter and it will start the development server and open it up in our browser. So as you can see, I already have a React app running on localhost :3000. So it is asking us if we want to use some other port instead. So I'm going to say Y for yes, and this started our development server and localhost :3001. In your case, it will simply open up in localhost :3000. Okay, let's go to our project. So here is our project, and in the source folder, let's first delete some files that we don't need. So we don't need the app.css, so we can delete it. We don't need the app.test.js, so delete. We don't need the logo.svg, so we can delete this also. We don't need the report web vitals, so delete. And we don't need the setup.test.js, so delete. So now we are only left with app.js, index.css and index.js. Okay, let's go to our index.js. So here we don't need the report web vital, we have deleted it. We don't need this line as well. Let's go to our app.js. Here we don't need the app CSS and the logo, so we can delete all of this. Oops. So let's delete them. And here for now, let's just say hello. Save and refresh. So now we have a simple app that only says hello. So the first thing we are going to do is load this drone model. So for that we are going to use Three.js. So let's go to the Three.js page. So this is the GitHub page of Three.js. Here you will see some example codes. So first what I'm going to do is install Three.js in our project. So for that, let's click on this plus icon to open up a new terminal session. Again, go to your project folder. So cd into react-landing, and here we're going to say npm install and 3 for Three.js, and hit enter and it will start installing Three.js. So in the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called utils, and in the utils folder I'm going to create a new file called init drone layer. So init drone layer .js. So this is our init drone layer.js. So in this file we are going to write all the codes for importing our drone and animating it. Okay, so let's again go to the GitHub page of Three.js. So here we have some example codes that we can copy. So copy this and we can paste it. So Ctrl V. Now instead of importing React from ./js3.module.js, we're simply going to say 3 since we have installed it using npm, and click on save. Let's go back to this terminal session. And let's go to our React project. Okay, this is our React project. So let me move this here. It still says hello, nothing happened. We're going to export the init function. So let's say export function, save, and now let's go to our app and we're going to say import init from, and this will be ./utils /drone layer.js, init drone layer.js, like so. Save it, and we're also going to import use effect from React. So we're going to say import use effect from React. You can already see that Three.js has been rendered, but we don't want that. So let's go to our file here, and we don't want to call the init function here, so delete this, save and refresh. So now again we have this hello world, and inside the function we are going to use effect. So we are going to say use effect, and here inside the dependency array we'll have nothing, so an empty array. So this will only run when the app is first, when the component is first loaded. So here we are going to call the init function. So save again. So again we have this cube here. Now let's go to our index.css. I want to delete all of this. Oops, Control A, delete, and I'm going to simply say target everything, and they will have a margin of 0 and padding of 0. So margin 0 and padding of 0, like so. Save, and we can remove this hello world, we don't need it for now. So here is the hello. Save. Okay, now we don't have this hello world text and our cube is again animating. So let's go to our init drone layer. So here let's see what we're doing. So first we're importing 3 from 3, then in the init function we're creating a camera. So in every 3 project you need a camera, a renderer, and a scene. So camera is used to view what is in our scene. So we're creating a perspective camera with the fob is 70. The aspect ratio is simply saying window.inner width by window.inner height. And for the near we're saying 0.01, and for the far we're saying 10. If you have experience with camera, this will make sense. Otherwise you can leave the default, they're good enough. And then we are setting the camera.position.z. So the position.z simply means how near to the scene our camera should be. So if we say 1, this will be very near. If we were to say 5, so for example 5, save and click on refresh. As you can see, now we can see our cube is very small. That is because our camera is very far away from our scene. So that is how this works. So then we're creating a scene by saying new 3.scene, and then we're creating this box geometry for this cube. So we don't need the cube, so we can delete this. We don't need this as well. Then we're saying renderer equal to new 3.webgl renderer. So renderer is what renders all the element in our page and animates them. And then we're setting the size of our renderer to window.inner width by window.inner height. So the full size of our screen. Then we're setting the animation loop of our renderer to this animate function. So basically what this will do is call this animation function again and again. So if we were to console log something here, so console.log, for example hello, click on save. Okay, it looks like we have some error. Let's see what is that. Okay, we have deleted the mesh, so we have to delete this line. So let's delete this line, save and inspect. So as you can see, this hello is being called again and again. So this animate function is being called again and again. That's how the animation loop works. So we don't need the time, so we can delete that. The renderer.dom element is basically our canvas. So we are appending our canvas to our body. So document.body.append child renderer.dom element. Okay, now we can delete these variables. We're not using them. So save, and if we refresh, as you can see, our cube is gone, and now we have this empty black canvas. So now we want to load our drone model. So this drone model here. So for that I found this drone model on Sketchfab. I'll leave the link to this page in the video description. This guy have created it, so thanks to him. So first you have to create an account to Sketchfab. After that you can click on download 3D model, and we are going to use the auto converted GLTF. So click on download, and this will start downloading your project. So I'm going to click on cancel because I already have downloaded it. So here is it. Here is the drone model. So I'm going to click on extract files here. So extract files, and you can click on OK. And this is our drone model. So I'm going to cut this. So cut and go to our project folder. So this is in current / React drone project. Inside the public folder I'm going to create a new folder. So new folder called models, and inside the models I'm going to paste the drone folder. So paste like so. So we can close this now. We don't need this page anymore. Close. So if we now Ctrl B open up our sidebar, in the public folder you'll see in the models we have drone model folder, and inside that we have some files. So now we can use this in our project. So let's go to our project. Here is our project. So save it. So to load our model, first we have to import the GLTF loader. So we're going to say import GLTF loader. From 3/examples/gsm/loader/gltf loader, and you can add .js if you want, otherwise it will still work. Save, and now we have to create a new loader object. So we're going to say const loader equals to new loader, equals to new GLTF loader, like so. So now let's use the loader to load our 3D model. So we're going to say loader.load. So loader.load, and then we have to specify the path to our model. So since we have put our model folder in the public folder, we can simply say /model, /models. Then we have the drone folder, so drone, and then inside that drone folder we have this scene.gltf. We have to import that, so we are going to say scene.gltf. Once this is loaded, this callback function will be executed. So here we'll have a callback function. Also this function will receive the loaded gltf, so we can say, let me close the sidebar. So let's call it gltf, so gltf, and we can say let model, so let model equals to gltf.scene, like so. So now we can add this model to our scene, so we can say scene.add model. So if we now save this, we can refresh, we can see our drone model. That is because in order to be able to see something, we need to have some lights. So we have to create a light. So we're going to say const light equals to, we're going to say new 3.ambient light. So the ambient light basically lights up the entire scene, and then we have to specify the color of our light. So in CSS you'd say hashtag FFF, but here we're using hexadecimal numbers, so 0x and then the hexadecimal value of the color. So hashtag FFF for the white, and then we're setting the intensity of the color. So 1 is the default, so 1 is 100%, and then we can say scene.add light. So save it, and let's see what error do we have. It's saying cannot read property undefined of light. Okay, we have to create the scene first, so we have to put the scene first. So save, and now refresh. So now we have this 3D model here. It is looking very big, so we can scale down our model. So inside this function we can say model.scale.set, and we have to scale it down to, let's say, 0.45 on the x-axis, 0.45 on the y-axis, and 0.45 on the z-axis. So scaling down by 45% in all direction, all axes. So save it and click on refresh. So now our drone is much smaller, but this is not the color we want. So let's double up our intensity by saying 2, save, click on refresh, and now we have this yellow color that we wanted. So now if we go to the finished project, as you can see, the drone first pops up from far away. So initially we are going to say camera.position.z equals to 5. Click on refresh. As you can see, our drone is now far away. Now we want this drone to animate towards us. For that we are going to use GSAP. So GSAP is a very powerful animation library for JavaScript. This is very fast and the performance is also very good. So again, let's go to another terminal session, and we're going to say npm install GSAP. So npm install GSAP, click hit enter, and it will start installing GSAP. Let's wait for the installation to finish. Okay, now our installation is finished. Let's go back to that terminal, and now we can import our GSAP. So we're going to say import GSAP from GSAP like so. So now let's use the GSAP to animate our model. So here is our model right now. So here we can simply say something like gsap.to. So gsap.to, the object we want to animate is the camera.position. So we're going to say camera.position. And then we have to pass an object with some config. Okay, so here first we have to say what property we want to animate. So we want to animate the z. So we want the z to be animated to 1. And the duration of our animation should be, let's say, 1 second. So 1, like so. If you now were to save it, and okay, it looks like we have some error. Let's say position is not defined. Let's see why is that. It should be dot position. Save, click on refresh. As you can see, now our model animates in. This animates linearly, but we don't want it to be animated linearly. So if we were to go to the greenshock.com/isVisualizer, you will see the animation visualizer. So by default we have none. So the animation goes linearly. We also have power 1. So this is curved like this. So we want to use the backs. So this back looks something like this. So for that we simply have to say is equals to back.out and say 1.7 like so. So let's try to do that. So we're going to say is equals to, we're going to say back.out, and we're going to say 1.7. Save it, and let's go to our project and refresh. So now it comes towards us and then goes away a bit like so. So refresh. This is how it looks. This is much better in my opinion. In our project it also rotated in, so if you see it also rotated in, so let's also do that. So initially our camera will also have some rotation, so we can say camera dot rotation, and let's say we want to rotate it in the z axis, so rotation dot z equals to, let's say, 1. By the way, these are the radian value, not in degree. So save and click on refresh. As you can see, now our drone is rotated like this. So we also want the rotation.z to be animated to 0, so let's do that also. So let's copy this so we can all shift down. So this time instead of position we're going to animate the rotation. When I animate the rotation.z to 0 like so, this time we don't need the is function, this can be linear. So save, click on refresh. So now this rotates in just the way we want it. Now after that we also have this drone animated to the position and also scale down, so let's do that. So we're going to use some other function animation, but those animation will run after this animation. So let's see how we can do that. So we're going to say gsap.to again, and this time we're going to say model.rotation. So model.rotation. So model is our drone model, we know that. So model.rotation. We are going to say we want to rotate the x to be 1 like so. We want the duration to be 1 again, so duration to be 1, and this time we are also going to say a delay, so delay equals to 1. So since these functions take 1 minute to run, this will run 1 minute after. So after these are run, this will run. So save it and click on refresh. So as you can see, the drone comes and then it rotates in the x-axis like so. So I'm again going to copy this, so all shift down, but this time the duration will be 2 and we want to rotate it even far down. So since we are using radian, we can say math.pi. So math.pi. If we were to say math.pi, let's see what happens. So save. Saying math.pi is like saying 180 degrees, so it completely flips it. So we don't want complete 180 degrees, so we can say times 1.75, so around 45 degree less than 360 degrees. So save it, click on refresh. Okay, this should be rotation.y, sorry, rotation.y. Save it, refresh. So now this is how it looks. So we also want it to scale down, so we are again going to say gsap.to. So gsap.to. This time we are going to say model.scale, and again we have to pass an object. So here again we are going to say delay to be 1 second, duration to be 1 second, so duration to be 1 second, and we want to scale it down to 0.25 in all axes. So x equals to 0.25, y equals to 0.25, and z equals to 0.25 like so. Let me close the brackets, parentheses like so. Click on refresh. So it also scales down. Finally we also have to animate the position, so it goes somewhere here. So we're going to say gsap.to. This time we're going to say model.position, and let's say again the delay will be 1, the duration to be 1, and this time we're going to say, let's say the x to be, let's say 0.35. Let's see how that looks, and then we're going to say y to be 0.3. So y equals to 0.3. Save it, refresh. Okay, this should be positive 0.35. Save it, refresh again. So now our 3D model part on this drone part is now complete. So now what we are going to do is also change this color to this grayer color. So let's change the gray color. So we can say renderer.setClearColor. So renderer.setClearColor, set clear color, and here we have to pass a value again, hexadecimal value. So I'm going to say 272727. Save it. So now we have this grayer color. So now our project is looking like what we had in a finished project, like so. But one thing is, if we try to refresh our screen, as you can see the canvas position does not change. We have to listen for the window.resize event and change our canvas manually. So we're going to say window.add event listener. So window.add event listener, we're going to listen for the resize event, and then we're going to run this function. So run this function. Inside this function, first we have to say camera.aspect equals to window.innerWidth by window.innerHeight. Since we are going to resize our screen, the aspect ratio will be changing, so that's why we're saying this. And since we are changing the aspect ratio, we're going to have to call the update projection matrix and then resize our renderer. So renderer.set size to window.innerWidth and window.innerHeight, like so. Save it. Let's try to refresh and try it again. Okay, so now it is working. Okay, now the Three.js part is done, so now we can move on to our HTML part. That is much more simpler. So let's go to our HTML part. So in the app component, first we are going to create a div with a class of hero. That will be our hero section. So div, this div will have a class name, so class name equals to hero. Inside that we are going to have a h1 with a class of title, so h1, that will have a class of title, so class name equals to title. Save. So this is how it looks like. This is pushing down our canvas, so we don't want that. So let's go to our CSS, and this canvas is basically a canvas element, so we can say target our canvas, and we can say this to have a position of fixed. So position equals to fixed. Save it, and we can say top to 0 and left to 0, like so. Save it, and now our canvas in top is absolutely fixed in the top position, but it is above our HTML, so we can say z index to be -1, so send it at the very bottom layer. So now here is our text and our canvas is below the HTML. We can also say our body to have a, so let's say body to have a color of white, so hashtag FFF or just FFF. Save it. This is the white color. We also want to set the font family to Arial, so I'm going to say Arial. Save it. So this is how this looks like now. Okay, now let's target our the hero class. This should be hero. Control C, Control S. Save it. Let's go to our CSS and target our hero. It should be hero, and let's say this will have some padding, so padding, and the top bottom can be 4 em and the left right, let's say 3 em. Save it. So this is how this looks like. So let's change the text. So this is the text we had. Control C, app, Control V, like so, and let's also change the color. So let me click on inspect and go to the CSS of this. So this is the color we have, so let's copy this. So again we are going to say .hero.title, so the title inside the hero. The color will be the color we just copied, so Control V, and the font size will be 3 em, so font size of 3 em. Save it, and let's go to our project. So this is how this looks like. Okay, this should be em. Save. This is how this looks like. So after that we have this paragraph text, so let's do that. So we're going to have a paragraph element, so P, and inside the paragraph element we are going to copy this text, so Control C, Control V. Save it. Let's give it a class again, so let's say class, let's just give it a class of text. Save it. Go to our index.css and let's say .hero.text, and for the text let's say the font size to be 1 em. Also I'm going to say our hero section to have a width, so width equals to 50%, so 50%, like so. Save it. So this is how this looks. Actually not 50%, we're going to say calc. We're going to add a little less than 50%, so 50% minus 2 em. Let's see how that looks. It should be calc, C-A-L-C, calc. Save. So now we have a little less than 50% width here. So our title also needs some margin bottom, so let's say margin bottom of, let's try 0.25 em. Save it. Let's see how much did we have. So we had 0.5 em here, so let's say 0.5. Save. So now the text is much below our title, so let's also style our text. So let's say this should have a letter spacing of 1 pixel, so letter spacing of 1 pixel, and we want the line height, so line height, let's try 1.5. Let's see, yeah, 1.5 should be good. Let's say the color to be a little bit lighter than pure white, so we're going to say color equals to some color that is slightly lighter than white. So let's try this, save, and yeah, this should be good enough. So after that we have this button, so let's create those buttons. So our app, we are going to have another paragraph text that will contain our buttons, so P. So inside that we are going to have a button. The button will have a class name of btn, so class name equals to btn, save. So the first one will say English, all shipped down, and the second one will say Russian, save. So this is how our button looks like. So let's style them. So let's also add some margin bottom in our text, so we're going to say margin bottom. Let's try 1 em, and yeah, 1 em should be good enough. So let's go to our style sheet, and we're going to target our button, so .btn, and let's try this style. Let's see how that looks. So we're setting the background color to be this yellow color, we're setting the color to white, setting the padding to be 0.5 en from top bottom, and left right to be 1 em, the border radius to 3 pixel, and the text decoration to none, so removing the underline, the font size to 1 em, and we don't need the margin top, but what we are going to say is border, we are going to say border to none, so border none, save it. So this will remove the border, and we can say margin, so margin right, so margin right to be, let's try 0.5 em. Yeah, 0.5 em should be good enough. So let's say the text transform to be uppercase, so text transform to uppercase, and the font weight can be bold, so let's say font weight bold, and finally let's say letter spacing to 1 pixel. So this is how they look, but we don't want this primary color on all, but we don't want this yellow color on the buttons, so let's try this gray color, save, and yeah, this should be good enough. So when our selected language is English, we want the English to be orange. When the selected language is Russian, this should be yellow or orange, whatever color, whatever it is. So as you can see, if we click on Russian, the Russian gets highlighted and the text changes to Russian, and if we click on English, the text changes to English and the English is highlighted. So we're going to do that later, but for now let's also finish our packages section. So let's do that. So after our hero section, we're going to have another section, so let's create a div with a class name of pricing. So here we're again going to have a h1, so h1, and this will say, let's say something like our packages, so our packages, save it, and let's style it also. So let's target pricing section, so let's go to the CSS, let's say dot pricing, and h1 inside that should have a text align of center, so text align center. Let's say the font size to be 2.5 em, so font size of 2.5 em, save. So this is how this looks like. After that we'll have this cards, so let's create a div with the class of pricing table, so div with the class name of pricing table. So this table will contain our cards for the pricing. So inside that, let's create a div with the class of pricing card, so div with the class name of pricing card, like so. So inside that, our card will also have a title, so let's say this should be a paragraph text with the class of title, so paragraph text with the class of title. So the first one will say basic, like so, it's all shipped down, and the second paragraph text will be info, so info let's copy the text here, so Control C, and we can paste it, Control V. So after that we'll have a button, so let's copy this button, Control C and Control V. So our button should say buy now. So this is how this looks like currently. So we're going to copy this 3 more times, so we're going to have 3 cards in total. So we can say Alt Shift down twice, so copy this 3 times. So this is how they look like. We need to style them in our CSS. So let's go to our style sheet. Okay, first let's target the pricing table, so Control C. Let's go to our style sheet. Here we're going to target that. Let's say this should have a padding, so let's say padding of 3 em, like so. Let's target our pricing item, our pricing card. Let's see what we called it. Okay, we called it pricing card, so let's target that, Control C and paste it, Control V. So this will have a background color of transparent white, so background color of RGBA. So RGBA, let's say 255 for red, 255 for green, 255 for our blue also. And for the opacity, let's try 30%, so 0.3. Yeah, 0.3 should be good enough. Let's also add some padding, so let's say padding of 1 em. And let's also say border radius of 3 pixels, so border radius of, actually let's try 5 pixels, like so. So now we want these cards to be one after another, so we're going to say our table to have a display of flex, so display of flex, like so. So we also want some gaps, so we're going to say dot pricing card, oops. So we're going to say dot pricing card, so pricing card, and we're going to target the middle element, which is our second element, so we can say nth child, the second child. This will have some margin on the left and right, so it should be 2. So this will have some margin. The top bottom margin can be 0, but the left right will be, let's say, 2 em, like so. So now we have some separation, and let's try 3. Let's see how that looks. And 3 is too much, so let's say 2.5 em, save. And let's style the text here, so we're going to say dot pricing card and then dot title. The title should have a font weight of bold, so font size of 1.5 em, and the font weight can be bold. So let me delete all of this, so let's say font weight of bold, save. This is how they look. Now let's target our info, so dot pricing card dot info. So the info will have some margin on top and bottom, so we're going to say margin, the top bottom let's try 1 em, and the left right can be 0, save. So now we have some separation. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that should be good enough. Our buy now button should be yellow, so let's do that. So we're going to say that pricing card and that dot btn. So let's say the background color should be that yellow color. We don't need anything else, so we can delete them, save. So now this is how this looks like. So let's change the text a little bit. So this one will say standard, and finally this one will say premium, save. So now the texts are different, so now we want to animate them. So as you can see in our finished project, they animates one after another, like so. So let's say in the index.js, this is our card here. So let's say initially they will have some transform, so let's say transform equals to translate, and we're going to translate it to, let's say, 100 pixel from the x-axis and 100 pixel in the z-axis as well, so 100 pixel, like so. So if you go to our project, as you can see, they're translated like so. So let's create an animation from them. So we're going to say animation, the animation name can be, let's say, slide up, so slide in, and let's say the animation duration will be 0.5 second. So let's create that animation. So let's say add keyframes, and the animation name will be slide in, and here we're simply going to say 2. So the transform will be set to 2 to translate z. So our translate will be set from 100 pixel to 0, 0. Save it. Okay, it looks like we have some error. Let's delete this. save. Okay, let's try 0.5 seconds slide in. So 0.5 seconds slide in, so the order matters, and as you can see they animates. Let's try 1 second, refresh. Okay, we also want some delay in our animation, so let's say animation delay. So animation dash delay, let's set that delay to be 2 seconds. Let's see how that looks. So save. Okay, let's refresh, and after 2 seconds they animate, so that should be good enough. So we're also going to say by default the opacity to be 0, so opacity to be 0, and then in the animation we're also going to say opacity to be 1, and also let's start from -100, so -100 in the x-axis. So save it, refresh, and you'll see after 1 second they comes in, but they also goes away. So we're also going to say animation fill mode, so animation dash fill mode to be forward. So if you now save it, the animation state will be preserved. So as you can see, they comes and they stays. For the second element, let's say the transform. Actually, let's just copy this, Control C, and paste it, Control V. For the second element, let's say the x-axis will be 0, so save it. So as you can see, the middle one simply comes up, and let's say the third element, so that pricing table dot nth child third. So for this one, the x will be 100 pixel, 100 pixel. So positive 100, positive 100. Actually, this should be pixel. Save, refresh, and now they comes from different direction. So let's also add some animation delay. So we're going to say animation delay. So animation dash delay. Oops, it should be delay. Let's say for this one, instead of 2 seconds, let's try 2.1 second. And for this one, let's say the animation delay to be 2.2 second. Actually, let's say 2.2 second here. And for this one, let's say 2.4 seconds. So animation delay equals to 2.4 seconds. So if you now save it and refresh, as you can see, our cards appear one after another. So the only thing now left is the language. So in the next video, we're going to see how we can add multi-language support in our video. So make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the video when I upload it. And I'll see you next time.